Hello out there.
We're on the air.
It's Rink Moose talk tonight. The beers are cold.
The mics light up.
And the boys get set to fight. The gloves come off.
Opinions get thrown.
And someone slips on ice. One man howls.
The other scowls.
But the show must go on. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
With hockey flows
and more shots known.
Pierre McGuire's life, not John's a leap.
Ovechkin's teeth
and Hoffman's crazy wife. When Carey slumps
and Bergevin stomps,
Drouin's not LaFontaine. Jokes aside,
it's podcast time,
and Rink Moose is the name.
Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can.
Hello and welcome to the much anticipated 30th episode of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast.
Wow.
A weekly episodic podcast where two good lads get together and discuss all things NHL and their implications in fantasy hockey. I am one of your hosts, Nick, along with my good pal, the one who the fantasy world calls Nanny McFanny, Kyle Nice. Kyle, how are you doing?
We got all the names coming out in the recent weeks, Nick.
I got all of them coming. That means fantasy time. All your nicknames.
Yes, exactly. Well, Nick, I got to address something right away, my friend. I am embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed. And I'll tell you why. Last week, I tore one off on Jonathan Drouin, one of my favorite players. And I feel totally embarrassed. This is not what a real fan does, Nick. And you showed me a clip about half an hour ago from the one they call Pierre McGuire. And I swear to God, I've never been so heated on a hockey topic, Nick. It really got to me, I'm telling you.
See, I thought it was mild.
Oh, no.
Send your day into a tailspin. I feel like you're having a good day, and now it's just gone to shit.
This day...
I apologize.
You know what? It's not even that it's gone to shit. It's just changed my whole perspective. Like, I was really down on the player. I was down on the team. But all of a sudden, Nick, like, I found this newfound passion to cheer for this team and wear my jersey. It's really sparked something in me, which I have to thank you on. But I think I'm going to play the clip, the whole thing, 56 seconds of just, I'll describe it as the lowest and most biased I've ever heard Pierre McGuire in my entire life. This guy absolutely ruined this take. I'll let you have a listen right here.
Drouin historically, in his younger days, performed well in bigger games. I'm wondering if he needs that opportunity. Where was that, at the Memorial Cup? No, in the Q playoffs more so than the Memorial Cup.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking. That's not the NHL. He has yet to distinguish himself in the NHL as being a prime-time player.
His last playoff in Tampa, he was quite good. I think you would agree.
I was there. I did the games.
Yeah, did you not think he was good?
He was a bottom six forward. He got beaten out by Braden Point. That's why he was a bottom six forward, and that's why he became available.
Here's the problem, though. You know, I mean, if you're waiting for the playoffs and you don't make them, you got to get them. Oh, absolutely, he's got to show it right now. Yeah. But he's teetering on the brink. He's teetering on the brink of being just buried by this market, and he's right on the edge, right there.
We agree. Patrick.
So first of all, Nick, it sounds like idiots on both sides because neither one of them knew what they were talking about. Like, those guys just went along with it.
In the background, they're at a pub drinking beer.
So let me dive into this, statistically, so we can prove Pierre McGuire is just a biased little prick. So in that Memorial Cup where he quote unquote didn't show up, Nick, he didn't show up. He had 9 points in 4 games in the Memorial Cup. I think he had 4 assists in the final game. He had 35 points in 17 playoff games that year. You know how his team, Halifax Mooseheads, they played 20 games in total. They lost 2 games, and he didn't show up. Okay, so let's take the superstar Nathan MacKinnon out of the conversation, shall we? The next year with Halifax, Drouin gets sent back to his junior team by the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's a fine choice. I don't mind. So the year without MacKinnon in the playoffs, Mr. No-Show, gets 41 points in 17 games, my friend. He had 35 and 17 the year before, 41 and 17. That's utter madness. Now let's fast forward a couple of years to the year 2016 in the playoffs with Tampa Bay. He had 14 points in 17 games as a 21-year-old on that team. I think they went all the way to the East Final there and lost to Pittsburgh. He was a top 3 player on the team in terms of point scoring. He was 3rd on the team in scoring. Nick, I want to ask you this. Do you know how many points that Braden Point had in that playoffs?
No idea.
Can you hazard a guess?
6.
0.
Wow.
0. He didn't play, Nick. Braden Point didn't even play in that playoffs. Like, who is this guy saying he played a bottom 6 role? Like, it's madness. And then, like, I mean, I could go on and on here, but to say that Drouin hasn't performed in the very little playoffs he's seen in his career is just crazy. Now, I get he's having a rough little go at it, and I've already expressed that I'm embarrassed on my part to play in ripping this guy throughout the year, to be honest. Like, you know, I've been hard on him all year, and I mentioned just because, you know, I've put so much faith and trust in this guy, and he's done nothing but shove it back to me. But you know what? The trashing is over. I want to stay loyal to my guys now. This is something I've always preached that people should do, is stay loyal to their team, loyal to their players. And I'm going to wear the jersey with pride till the very end, Nick. I said they might scrap together a playoff spot, and I'm sticking with that, even though they've been dog trash for the last couple. But I feel for this guy, man. Like, think of the monumental pressure of not scoring in 15 of your last 16 and having the weight of the entire city resting on your back. Because you know all the articles. You know all the narratives on the radios. They're all pointing at Jonathan Drouin. Everyone else, like, there's guys not scoring, Nick. There's other guys not scoring. Lekkonen's not scoring. Kotkaniemi's been quiet. Like, there's other guys not scoring here. But it's just so easy to pit in on this guy. But I'm not going to take part in it any longer.
Well, yeah, I mean, by the sounds of it, it seemed like they kind of backed him into a corner. Like, fair enough, Memorial Cup, Q, you know, it's not the big leagues. But then when they mentioned the Stanley Cups, the playoffs, you know, he kind of, with the second the guy said he was doing well, Pierre just kind of backtracked and said, "Oh yeah, but still in general, he was a bottom 6 forward, and Braden Point beat him out," which is true. That did happen. He did inevitably become a bottom 6 forward.
At the end of the day,
Braden
yes.
Point kicked him out. Yes. So he kind of backtracked, didn't really address the playoff success, and then said, "Oh well, in the end, he still fucked up and he's a failure."
Yeah.
So that goes to show you who Pierre is. Yeah.
Yeah, my problem was they were talking specifically about they said this is a guy who shows up in the big games but sometimes can't get it going for, like, you know, the regular season. And Pierre just
doesn't acknowledge that. Yeah.
He didn't acknowledge that. He just went off on, "Oh, he's a bad player. He doesn't show up at all." That's basically what Pierre said. So I think you brought up something about maybe an unknown history that we don't know about. What could have been said here between the two Frenchies?
Yeah, no, as I said, Pierre barely ever will actually call out an individual, like name an individual and just like rip on them publicly. Rarely he'll ever do that. Maybe a team assessment, but not a player or a coach, a member of management. So this was kind of rare for me to hear, and I would not be surprised if there was some tension there in that relationship, if something was said behind closed doors. So yeah, it kind of got me thinking.
Yeah, and I know you played me that clip of the TSN radio hit where they talked about the power play and they don't have a quarterback on that power play, and then Pierre going off on something like, "Oh, I could have written the book on the penalty kill with Drouin back there." And it's just a nasty business, and I now people are going to start pointing the whole power play business on Drouin. It's not solely his fault. I mean, there's coaching to look at too here. I mean, I've read a good handful of articles that have cited Claude Julien as absolutely blowing his coaching in the last couple of games with the personnel decisions he's making. But I don't want to get into that too much. But I did see there's a guy named Brian Wild, Nick, on Twitter, and he floated out a tweet, and he's a pretty reputable guy. He floated out a tweet that he said Jonathan Drouin will be traded sometime next year. He said he's calling it now. And I just shook my head and I said, what have things come to? This was his dream city. This was his dream to play as a Hab. And I just feel like he just needs this one chance if they make the playoffs to prove that this season wasn't a total waste. I mean, he's had a good year. On the whole, Nick, he's had 50 points in 70 games. That's pretty darn good for him. He's going to set a career high by the end of the year. So, unless he gets 0 points in the next 10 games.
Right.
But I just think he needs a chance to salvage this. But yeah, if Montreal sinks like the sinking ship they are right now, man, I don't know what the outlook looks like for this player. I mean, I've never seen a guy so beaten down by a lack of confidence and a whole franchise coming down on him. So it's going to get ugly if things keep going this way. They so desperately need to find some sort of offensive spark, and I think they can recuperate here, but it needs to happen now.
And you talk about redeeming yourself. What better opportunity would there be to redeem yourself than having a shot against the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round?
Oh, that's a narrative.
You sneak into the last playoff spot. You get Tampa, and Drouin can prove him wrong.
Nick,
Cooper v. Drouin
is such a narrative. Holy shit!
You're probably
Nick,
thinking about that every night in your sleep, aren't you?
Man, I haven't even thought. That totally slipped my mind.
Just blew your mind.
Yeah, I can't believe that is a possibility. Drouin coming into the dressing room with a John Cooper, blow up doll and just mangling it before the game, getting everyone fired up. Oh my God, this is going to be amazing. I mean, who's coming out? Who's coming out? Columbus or Carolina? What's going to happen here? Carolina, I'm calling it. They're falling. They're falling. So hard. They're so far ahead. I'm getting sad as we talk about it because it's just so.
Hey, I'm a Leaf fan. I'd love to see that. I want Montreal to make it just to play Tampa. I think that'd be great. Much better than Carolina Tampa. Give me a break.
No, who's gonna watch that? No one.
But
no one.
NBC's not even gonna play those games.
No, it'll be on Altitude Sports or something something
4-0
stupid.
sweep. Each game's 5-1.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, exactly. Maybe a 3-2 in there once. Yeah. God, that would be so bad for hockey if that happened. And it's not like Carolina would gain anything from doing that because they would just get dummied and then lose out on more draft picks. So fuck. Figure it out, everybody. Gary Bettman, put your little wand in the mix here. We got to get this going.
And here's one more thing I want to say. You mentioned the whole him getting traded. Yep. I don't think Marc Bergevin has the guts and the gumption to make that move. I think if that move happens, it's a different GM, because for Bergevin to do that, he'd basically be admitting, listen, I made a mistake in trading Sergachev. It was a bad move, and now I need to live with it, and I need to destroy this mess. Yes. And I don't think he has the character to acknowledge that. So if it does happen, it's going to be under a different management team. That's what I would predict.
I think that's a good call. Good, and that being said, I think Bergevin's done a good enough job where he's secured his job for a few more years. So, it's probably never going to happen.
So I don't see it happening. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just real quick. It's crazy how the narrative switched throughout the year because, there's points in the year where you're talking, Domi and Drouin, one of the best duos we've had for the last 10 years. You've had all kinds of up and down narratives. It's a horrible slump, but overall he's had a pretty good year. But we'll have to move on, Nick, unfortunately, because we got a mammoth of a topic coming up.
We got a lot here.
A mammoth of a topic. The Leafs are just a never-ending black hole of content right now. So first thing I want to do, Nick, is I want you to tell me about your little first-hand experience on Saturday night in the land of Ottawa.
Yeah, I mean, and this was different because as everybody knows, if you've been listening from the get-go here, I made the trip to Canada, Ontario, back in October. So I already had a bit of a glimpse on the stadium and Canada and the fans and how that arena. But this was interesting because I got to spend the whole weekend there. It wasn't just a one-night trip or a day trip. And we stayed downtown, so I got to actually see what it's like to travel from the city to the arena.
Yeah.
So I now kind of have an opinion and a take on what everyone's been badgering about with the whole arena issue and how it's so far from the city. And man, I'll tell you what, before I even get into the game, because I'm sure that's going to be a big topic on this episode here, given it was quite the debacle.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this from the get-go. I now fully appreciate what these fans have been clamoring about, Kyle. This is ridiculous. So I'm just going to put you in my shoes.
Okay.
You're in this nice downtown hotel. You're with your buddies. You're preeing in your hotel room as any other hockey fan would before a big Saturday night hockey night in Canada game. We're in a good place. Good headspace. 6 o'clock, we're ready to go. There's a bus, $3.50. We're like, beats Ubering. Let's hop on the bus.
Sure.
So this bus, you go outside your hotel. Bus stop's right there. Great, very convenient. Hop aboard this bus. I kid you not, Kyle. We're on this bus for the next 40 minutes.
Oh.
We don't get to the arena until 10 to 7, and our entire buzz is just gone. Like we are sober schmucks. We just went from having the time of our lives partying it up at this hotel to now being like, what the fuck was that 40-minute bus ride?
Oh,
like worst bus ride ever. And here's the worst part of it. You actually get to travel through the area downtown as you're leaving downtown that was projected to be the new home for the Sens. LeBreton Flats, I believe it's called.
Yes.
And it's just this big deserted empty area. It's in a great location. It's just on the outskirts of Ottawa. It would be kind of analogous to like where BMO is in Toronto. So still in the city, but kind of in an open area, kind of on the outskirts.
Yeah.
And it's just this open area, nothing's going on, and you can't help but look at it on your bus ride over to Canada and be like, what the fuck? Why is this land not being used? Like, what good is this empty land? And so it's kind of a depressing bus ride, to be honest. And when you and the whole story here, Kyle, like I was picking apart, like I was talking to some Sens fans, and basically the story is the Melnick guy. He owns all this land in Canada. Like he's a rich guy. He's like a billionaire. And he wanted to develop this land, cultivate Canada, make it an extension of Ottawa. He wanted it to kind of become a part of Ottawa. And instead, it's basically become the Markham to Toronto. It was a massive failure. There's nothing out there. There's no bars to go to after the game. The game finishes. The game finishes. We were packing beers at the stadium. Game finishes. We just want to go out. We got to hop back on this bus. This shitty bus. Another 40 minutes.
No.
And then your entire buzz is gone yet again.
No.
We had to go back to the hotel, drink for another hour, and then go downtown Ottawa to drink. It was ridiculous.
That's awful.
Here's the best analogy. I'm sure anyone will understand this. One of my friends made a good point. He was like, the beauty of the Scotiabank Center in Toronto is you can go to the game, have a great time, literally walk 2 minutes, and you got a bar to go to. You got bars to go to, several places to go to, right?
Yes.
And then the end of the night is your sobering TTC/GO train ride home. And at that point, you're fine being sober because you're tired and you just want to hit the hay, right?
Yeah.
In this case, you're being forced to have that sobering ride before you even get to a bar, and it's just baloney. So I've had enough of this. We could not stop talking about how brutal this was, and I'm so glad I got to appreciate it firsthand because I didn't really get that opportunity last. So shitty experience with the whole bus. They need to get this right. And if they don't, I would not be opposed to Canada losing a hockey team in Ottawa.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I love Canadian hockey teams, but this is just not a fit. It just wasn't a not a fit.
Wow.
Now, on to the game. First thing I will get out of the way is, Kyle, I did not get any fan interviews for you, and I have a very good reason for why I did not.
Okay.
And the reason I did not is because Sens fans at this game were simply non-existent.
Come on.
I'm sure you heard about it. I'm sure some of it carried over to the broadcast on CBC with the crowd.
Sure.
But there was not a Sens fan in sight. I'm telling you, Kyle, it was like 30 Leaf fans to one Sens fan.
Wow,
it was ridiculous.
no way.
There was no red in this arena. We were second row, 300 level, right behind the goalie. So a really nice overview view of the arena.
Yeah.
And you looked everywhere. It was all blue and white, barely any red. Leafs go chants, not one Sens chant.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could chirp the Sens all you want. You could be a loudmouth, and not one Sens fan would interrupt you in their home barn.
Oh,
it was
awful.
Crazy. One of my buddies was like, I could not imagine a venue where the away team has overpowered the home fans as much as this right now. Like, think of all sports franchises in general globally.
Yeah,
this is pretty amazing. And I thought about it. I'm like, I'm trying to think of a situation, and I just can't. So, yeah, I was blown away by that. It was all Leafs fans, so sorry about the no Sens fan interview.
Wow.
And yeah, I guess the sad part is, despite all those Leaf fans being there, it was a complete debacle. Great game to start. Even when they were down 2-0, you still thought they had some life. Morgan Riley scores the goal to make it 2-1.
Yep.
Everyone's fired up. Hey, they're back in it. This is going to be a good finish. And what do you know? Public enemy number one, Garrett Sparks, shits the bed.
Ooh,
and
he was bad.
I've been on this train. I've been beating this drum for a long time. He gave them zero chance to win that game. When they needed stops to stay in the game, he just would not give them stops. He was fishing the puck out of his net the entire night.
Wow.
And it was, you could see it from the 300 level, how much of a debacle of a night this young goaltender was having. It was terrible. The goal, you saw these goals, did you not?
Yes, I saw all of them.
So there's that fourth one. It looks like me when like the guy takes the shot, he totally misreads it, goes to the right side of the net, loses his positioning, so that he has to stumble to the next part of the net where Duclair just easily beats him and he just falls into his net. Like, it looked like house league. It looked like worse than Jake Allen.
Oh,
like, he is the new Jake Allen. And,
wow.
And when I say that, I mean a goalie who looks so out of place at the professional level. Like, just the fundamentals of the game. Standing, transitioning in your goal, moving side to side. He just doesn't have standing. You saw the fourth goal where he's standing up trying to look big, and the guy just top corner on him.
On the glove side.
He had no shot on it. On the glove side.
Yeah.
In his net. I'm like, what are you doing? Challenge the shooter.
Yeah.
I was livid. I barely get mad. I am not, of like my Leafs friend group, I'm usually the level-headed one. I do not get frustrated. I was frustrated at this game. It totally pissed me off because they had life. Like, the Riley goal was life. Tavares even scoring in the third period to make it 4-2 on that 5-on-3. It was life. It was like a spark. This team's more talented than the other. And then the second Ottawa just gets a weak scoring chance, Sparks doesn't give them any help. It was the Garrett Sparks show, and I got to see it firsthand. So if I already wasn't high on this goalie, now I just want him done. And if you saw Dubas's reaction, it was trending on the CBC's Twitter, where he's like got his hands in his head and in his face, and he's just shaking his head.
Really?
I've never seen a Dubas reaction like that. Usually he's all smiles from the box, but that reaction to me was the sign of a GM who has finally realized he made a blatant mistake.
Oof.
Like, he's finally acknowledged. Like, it took 72 games, but that reaction to me was like, okay, I gotta rethink that one. You know, and he finally is acknowledging it. He's made one mistake this whole tenure, in this masterpiece of a tenure, many would call, and that's it in my mind.
Wow.
And it was on full display that Saturday night, which we happened to drive 2 hours for.
Oh, shit. Wow, you really piled it on today, Nick. Wow.
Man, it was a great weekend, and I will get into it off the air with you. But the point is the game, the so-called main event of this weekend When all these fans came out and paid their money, my one good friend, Sonny, he has never been to a Leafs game before. He's been a fan for 12 years. He's never been to a game. He can never afford to go to a game at the ACC, like so many other Leaf fans. Okay? Working class family. He just can't afford it. He goes to Leaf Square, blood, sweat, and tears at Leaf Square for all these playoff games. That's all he's got. And he finally got to go to a Leafs game, his first Leafs game at the age of 23. And they did that to him.
Oh.
Like, it's just sad.
It's awful. It's awful.
And it headlined by Garrett Spark. Like ridiculous.
And that's not even where it ends with Garrett Sparks, Nick. Did you hear the post-game comments?
I got them on my phone. You want me to read the post-game comments?
I was going to read it, but you can, by all means.
I'm too hot right now.
Okay. So, boy, this is just an episode of ranting. My God. So here we go. We're going to slow it down for a second. So not only does Garrett Sparks blow the game, but then he calls out the character and the emotion of his teammates and even the fan base. Here we go. Let's dive into this. Garrett Sparks plays like a monkey's uncle and then goes on to say, "We need more emotion from everybody. We need people to get angry. We need people to step up and get mad and take it personally." What are you trying to say, Garrett? Are you trying to say you blow the game and then you're going to stand up in the middle of the room and with your head held high and you say, "Guys, I need you to get mad for me or else I'm not going to play for you"? Like, what the fuck is this? You can't, as a backup goalie who's not doing his job. Like, they talked about it on the radio today and I had to roll my window down. It was like, the nerve of this guy to call out his teammates when you haven't done shit to do your own job. Guess what? They're slumping right now. They needed a spark. And what did you give them? You just you put water on the flame. Like, you blew it. What's your take here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you give up a 6th spot and you have the gumption to go out and say that. I was shocked. I was appalled, to say the least. Being a goaltender myself, it's hard to exactly comprehend unless you're a goalie and you play that very significant position for your team. I've had games where I've been just lit up and shredded and not done any part in letting my team stay in the game, and Kyle's been on hand for a fair share of those.
Oh yeah.
And the reality is, after the game, your head's down, you're not saying a word. I will happily listen to what other people have to say, but I'm not saying a word. Maybe I'll say something like, "Okay, I let you guys down tonight. I'm going to step it up next time." Maybe something like that.
Yep.
But you don't call out your teammates. You don't tell them you ought to be doing this, you ought to be doing that, pointing the finger. That is like a sin in the goaltender world after you give up a 6th spot like that. And for him to do that, like I said, shocked, appalled, and it can't be that. And he doesn't even have the track record to back it up. His whole season's been a debacle. You look at his numbers; they're the below average for a backup goaltender. This guy has little respect in the dressing room as it is, and he's saying this shit. Like, makes no sense. You got a shutout. You stop 39 of 40 shots. Go ahead. You know, show the floor is yours. Go off. But this to me was just uncalled for. And the Babcock comment afterwards, they had Babcock afterwards, and they said, "Hey, Garrett said this. What do you think?" You want to hear what Babcock said?
I do. Yes.
Quote. And I'm not even going to do a Babcock impersonation because I can't. But quote. "Being a professional is about getting up every day and doing your part. And if you're Sparksy, it's stopping the puck. Oof. So everyone just do your own job and we'll be fine." End quote.
Wow. So he threw
some low key
some shade
he just threw at the face of Garrett.
Shut your mouth. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Character 101, written by Michael Scott, and he broke every rule in the book. Every single rule in the book. And now what he's doing is, I mean, think about what this does to the dressing room, like inside the room, you're supposed to be a unit. Like if you're hearing all this negative stuff and you're slumping and the media's on you, you want to be together in that room. I guarantee you what this guy said and how things are playing out right now is causing some divisions. I mean, why do you want friction in that room? Like and deal with it internally. If someone's saying those things, that's fine. Like the media doesn't need to know. And especially from you. I mean, if Patty Marleau or one of the leaders, John Tavares, is stepping up and saying these exact words, I don't have much of a problem with it. But it can't be coming from you, and why the hell are you going to the media? Like, buddy, you gotta be kidding me here. So it takes an already bad situation, and now we're in a vortex, Nick. Now we're in a spiraling vortex. And there's another quote that I want to bring up right after I get your take on that. But there's another Babcock quote, and this is some subtle shade on Dubas himself, which I thought was very interesting. I want to read it to you. It's kind of long, so bear with me, but you'll be able to pick out the key points here. Quote, "The thing about a team is you have 23 spots on it, and you have a minor league team. You're supposed to build the best program you can to have as much depth so you don't miss people." Now, obviously, this is off the record here. Obviously, the Leafs are missing some key players. Continuing the quote here, "If you have enough, you don't miss a beat, and you just keep on going. There are other teams that have done a better job when different players are out than we have in keeping on going. That just tells you the state you're at, and you have to keep adding better players." So this to me is like, what is he doing here? Like, now all of a sudden he's trying to take the pressure off himself, off the team, and he's putting it upstairs to the office. He's saying other teams have done a better job because they have better depth, because they have better players in the depth system in the minor leagues, and when we miss certain guys, we're going to hurt more than anybody else because we don't have that depth. I mean, does this not sound like he's throwing some shade at Dubas here?
Yeah, I mean, the way I stand on this quote is I kind of see both sides. The reality is people like us have been clamoring that the Leafs haven't really addressed their glaring need. Yes, they got the Jake Muzzin for the first-round pick, and that was a great start. It got the ball rolling. But they needed something more at the deadline, and we were very vocal about this in our trade deadline episode. They just did. And whether it be like a McQuaid that Columbus got, like a 5'6" defenseman, a more physical defenseman who could stop the cycle, lay into some guys on the back end, that's what they needed, and they didn't get it. And now it's showing itself, the glaring need with the injuries to Gardner and Dermott. It just isn't looking good, and I don't blame Mike for kind of low-key calling Dubas out. He is the older guy. He's been in the league longer. He's the more seasoned veteran. He's not fresh out of Sault Ste. Marie, with all due respect to Dubas. He's a smart kid. But the Dubas opinion, I mean, on his end, how I defend Dubas is, to me, this is kind of a bit of finger pointing on Mike. And this, as now Kyle, a proud full-time subscriber of The Athletic.
Ooh.
I was reading James Myrtle. He's a writer for the Leafs. And
Myrtle
he was
Beach.
saying out, yeah.
Sorry.
And he was saying outright, you know, we're trying to look for who to blame here, who should be held most accountable for this stretch here, and how they're not really doing well heading into the playoffs. You know, there's a case to be blaming Mike Babcock here.
Oh yeah,
Freddie's done his part all year. You have a Vezina nominated goalie. He's going to be there. He might win the thing, but given his recent stretch of play, maybe not. You got a Norris Trophy nominee, Morgan Riley. You have a MVP nominee, Mitch Marner. You have Matthews. You have all these pieces. You have all these toys to play with. And, you know, this is a good team, and there's still criticism of your team, and you're still not beating these teams you should be beating, like this debacle in Ottawa. So maybe the time is to start beating down on Mike. And you look at his recent playoff record, he hasn't won a first round playoff series in like a decade. Like, it's been a long time. So to me, I see both sides of it. I'm not surprised Babcock's doing this because he's not one to, hide his intentions. He'll do it in a low key manner, but he certainly doesn't keep his strongest emotions to himself. So yeah, I mean, not surprised to hear that. And it sounds like drama. It sounds like drama at the wrong time. 10 games to get your act together here. We're at game 72 of 82. Boston's getting Pasternak back. You gotta hunker down here and get ready. And instead of getting ready, everyone's finger pointing.
Yes.
And it's just not. It's comes off as a very elementary, very very like spoiled young brats, and the theater is getting the best of them. And I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, and there's definitely merit to your Babcock comments here. The one thing I want to add to it is the reason I have such a problem with what he said there is simply because one reason. The trade deadline is passed. This isn't you sending a message to poke your GM to do something. If the trade deadline's passed, there's no excuses now. Like, all this now is finger pointing, like you said. So for him to criticize the roster after the trade deadline, it's an excuse. No one else is doing that right now. Now that leads me to ask you, I mean, look, why are the Leafs in this position? Why have things gone so wrong? And the obvious answer is defense. I mean, it's been the problem all year. We've had just horrible structure in our own zone, even when our guys are healthy. What a lot of people are pointing out is, if Freddie Anderson isn't a top 3, playing like a top 3 goalie in this league, how good is this team? I mean, their defensive woes have made Freddie play way above his head. And as soon as he comes back to being an average guy, or as soon as you put Garrett Sparks in the net, it's exposed. And whoever's in the lineup or not, whether Gardner's out or Dermott's out, it doesn't matter. I mean, if there's no defensive system that people can buy into and are buying into, then we're going to see something like this. I mean, case in point, look at Barry Trotz in the New York Island. Like, you've never seen a team go from the worst defensive team to literally the best defensive team in a single season. You know what? I look at that blue line over there, Nick. It's not like star-studded. It's just a bunch of guys buying into a system and executing it to, the best of their abilities, and everyone's on board. Now, my question to you is this. Have we started to see, with this group of Toronto Maple Leaf divas, has Babcock started to lose the room? Are they still listening to this guy? And where are their heads at? Does he get along with these players? Is he that player's coach? Like, are these guys really listening to his systems and his way of thinking and just the culture? What's going on in this room? It's a huge debacle right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I didn't think he was losing some of the, and I think that's just the nature of being a coach to these $1 million a year players. I mean, one of the greatest stories I heard was with Pierre McGuire, our boy who we were just tearing apart, but it's a good story nonetheless.
Yeah.
And with the great Scotty Bowman, when he knew that he was getting a little loud and letting the team hear it, and maybe his message was getting a little old. What he'd do is he'd call the leaders of his team, the Mario Lemieux of the day, call him into his office. He'd explain something to him, whether it be something to work on the power play or the penalty kill, something tactical. And Mario, being the captain he was, would go, "Yes, Scotty, this sounds good to me. This is really good." And then Scotty would say, "All right, Lemieux, you're telling the boys this plan. I'm not talking to them for 1 second."
Wow.
Just to be creative, just to make sure his message wasn't getting stale, his voice wasn't getting old, and I kind of see that, and I'm like, oh, that's very smart. And with the Leafs here, I don't know what Babcock's doing behind closed doors. I don't know if he's doing the same stuff, but we listen to the interviews, we see how he handles himself. He's a very stubborn guy, doesn't like to really admit when he's wrong. That's just who Mike is. That's who we've always known him to be. Very proud guy, proud personality. And so to me, if I'm a player on that team, yeah, I'd be kind of, aggravated in when he's preaching this message and it's not working and he's harping on you. I'm not in the room, but I'm just assuming this is the case. So yeah, I believe his voice is getting a little stale, and there's certainly a lack of buy-in from some of these players. Not all of them. I mean, I'm sure the Tavares the real leaders are still keeping up, but there's definitely some guys there who need to get their act together. And yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say in that respect. Like, does Mike need to go? I don't know. Do the players have to listen to Mike? I have no idea. But if the question is if his message is getting stale, yeah, I do think there's a lack of buy-in here.
And that's just terribly frightening with 10 games to go, isn't it? I mean, the team seems to be balancing on the edge of a knife here when it comes to the psyche of the dressing room. And man, they need some positivity as they head into Boston. Like, they're not going to have home ice. They're going to have, all the doubters on them. You want a solid group in the room. And now here's another funny storyline. All people do in Toronto in the last couple of years is shit on Jake Gardiner. And now he's out, and I'm hearing a lot of people missing this guy now. Oh, we need Jake Gardiner back really badly because we're so darn bad without him. Well, I got bad news for you fans out here. I've heard a report. Jake Gardiner is going to be out a little bit longer than expected. He was scheduled to come back just before playoffs. It's looking like that might push into mid-first round. So, I mean,
Wow.
It looks like Dermott is going to be back on time. But this Gardiner, if this thing, and it's quoted to say, Nick, like, it hasn't gone as they've expected, which is just very frightening. So as I said before, you're balancing on the edge of a knife. Now, what people have started to talk about on the radio is you got a huge stud in the AHL Marlies named Rasmus Sandin. He's a young kid. He's 19 years old, but he's having a hell of a year as the top defenseman on the Marlies. And if it comes down to it, do you take out a Justin Hall? Do you take out a Marinson and give the kid a shot? He plays the Dubas game. He is a fantastic mover of the puck. But they've been pretty stubborn on this, Nick, so far because they don't want to put him into a situation where he'll be uncomfortable. But I mean, you know what? If things keep going like this, you got to try something, right? This could be the spark they need. It might be their ace in the hole down the road. But what do you think of the young kid getting a shot here?
No, and I think this relates very well to what Mike was saying about Dubas. Maybe that was all a ploy, a tactic of Mike's to get him to make a move like this. Because we know this is well, reported that Dubas is the more patient of the bunch. He's a very patient GM. We saw it with him acquiring Muzzin. He wasn't really ready to pull the trigger on a top 4D for a while. Finally did it with Muzzin, but he's a patient guy. He rather have guys be overripe in the minors. If you look at his track record, that's been the case. And to me, I don't see kids in the Marlies coming up to help the Leafs. I really don't. I just can't see him swaying from his personality and his vision and his identity as a GM. And regardless what Mike is saying, what he's badgering about, I just can't see it happening. And it pains me to say that because one of my buddies was like, when Marinson's on the ice, I'd rather have the Leafs be shorthanded without him than with Marinson on the ice 5-on-5. Like, it's that bad. And some of those plays I was watching the past night, I couldn't help but agree. So it's kind of terrifying, but at the same time, I don't see, as much as it would be cool to see the kids come up, I just can't see that being the case. Maybe that kid they signed, that college player they just signed, maybe him, because he's a little older, but not the Sandins of the world. I just can't see that being the case.
Man, oh man, things are tight, man. I want to frame something for you just to give people the sense of what is really boiling over here. So, longtime Leafs fanatic Steve Dangle, who's made his career on being a Leafs fan, he had this to say on a tweet after the Ottawa game. Quote, "Congratulations, Boston. It was a good series." End quote. So, I mean, you had momentarily the Leafs' biggest fan quitting on the team. Like, that's how dark things are right now. And he made a video apologizing and you know, reeling back his comments, but it's so dark this these last couple weeks, and it's what it is now, Nick. It's a character check. It is a character check of all checks. You're a big character guy. We all know.
I told you though, Kyle.
What?
I told you this team was lacking character. I said this months ago. To me, this team lacks character when I look at the personalities in the dressing room.
Now we're gonna see it. We're gonna see it.
Now we're gonna see it. This is a big test here. They failed the test in Long Island when they had the Tavares home game. They failed that one. And here's another little mini test. How this 10-game stretch goes. They've got 7 games against non-playoff teams in these next 10 games.
You got it made.
To me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You also got to rest guys. Freddie's not playing so well. He's only probably going to play 5 of these next 10 games. So that means Sparksy's getting half the games because you've got no one else to throw in there. So what's that say about it, you know? It's just weird.
That's tough, man.
And one more thing. You mentioned Dangle. When I was watching that video, because I watch all his videos, I couldn't help but agree with every point he made that video. Like I said, I'm very level-headed about this team. I don't usually go off on this team. But after that game, I was going off. And oftentimes, it takes a bit of an emotional investment in the game, like having to travel there, kind of like what I did with LA in October. I saw that LA Sens game. As you know, LA laid a clunker, and I came back on the show the week after, and I ripped into LA.
Yes.
And you heard that, right? And I told you, I may not be a fan of this team for any longer. And I was talking about the coaching changes and all the drama there.
Yeah.
And it took that emotional investment, that bus ride over there, and that to see them live in person, to finally feel that emotion I needed to make that message known. And for the Leafs, this was the first time all year where I kind of felt for Dangle and what he was saying there. For the first time all year, I was genuinely concerned about this team. So I'm going to be watching them very closely, and it's going to be very fascinating.
Extremely fascinating. And the other factor is, I mean, there's a million factors, but if Freddie's not playing like a Vezina candidate, they don't stand a chance against Boston. And Boston's looking great.
Yeah. They have the goalie advantage. I'd rather have Freddie than a Rask.
Sure.
But if Freddie is not playing like Freddie, which has been the case this past week, look no further than, you know, the loss to Tampa when he was pulled, or the 7-6 win against Philly. It's just not been great for him, and he's their MVP. He's been it all year, and he's going to have to be in the playoffs. So I'd rather have Boston's forward group at this point. I'd rather have their defense at this point. The goaltender, that's the X factor. They're going to need him big time.
Yeah. Anything else on the Leafs before we move on? I want to say one last final word, but do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I think I've made my opinion more clear than ever for this team. So please divulge.
So, I mean, you heard what I said at the beginning of the show. I ripped Drouin last week, and I pulled it back this week. And you know what? I wanted to stick by his side. Now the thing, Nick, is after this episode, I'm gonna go onto YouTube and I'm gonna watch that playoff hype video that I showed you many moons ago with that epic song. Yeah. And I know, Nick, when I watch that video, I'm gonna regret all the bad things I said. So I'm gonna state it here before we move on. I'm gonna state that I'm with this team. I'm gonna support them, and I want them to do well. As much as sometimes I come across as a Leafs hater, I want nothing more than to see this city have playoff success. So after this episode, I'm going to listen to that song, watch that video. I'm going to post it on the Rink Moose Twitter for all to see. And I know I'm going to get those goosebumps, and I'm going to be feeling this team. So we mentioned the character check. And you know what? As fans, Dangle said it. We're all in. We're all in on this team. Now they got to show us that they're in, okay? So we're going to face Nashville on, I think, tomorrow. And it starts there. The rebuilding of this psyche starts there. So we're going to support this team.
Wow.
Powerful.
That's great. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
And people don't want to hear this, but you know, I'm a Leaf fan. I always have been. But I'm skeptical now, and if you were to ask me right now, and I'd say this with a straight face, if you asked me who's going to win Boston Leafs, I'd say there's a 60-40% chance Boston's going to win the series.
Wow. I thought you would have said
I'm
more, to be honest, like 65-70.
No, this is 60-40 for Boston, and I'm going to remain until they show me otherwise. I'm the Leaf fan. I'm still the Leaf fan, but I'm the skeptical Leaf fan with his arms crossed, and I'm just not sold yet.
Yeah, and you deserve to be like that. You've earned your right to feel that way.
My hard-earned money went into that game on Saturday.
Yeah, but regardless of anything that happens, you and I are gonna don our jerseys and take Leaf Square by storm.
Of course,
when we get the chance, and we'll be the loudest fellas there. So it's without saying. And I'm excited, and we're right around the corner. So I'm gonna send you that video, and we're gonna watch it, and it's gonna be amazing.
Yes, but very good video.
Excellent video. Even though it's a little bit dated now, because it was a couple years old, but
and a little long.
Yeah. But it still hits home. And but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we should move on. We've said our piece. We've really cracked down on that whole scenario. Just let that heavy gravity just off your shoulders a little bit as we move away from the blue and white here. I want to quickly update everyone on some key injury news here because there's a lot of moving pieces coming in, and they're pretty big pieces. So Evgeny Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins is now out week to week. That is going to hurt as Pittsburgh attempts to climb those Metro standings. David Pastrnak should be coming back sometime this week. You mentioned it earlier on, and Boston's done a valiant job without him, and now they're gonna have that top line reunited. So scary things to come in Boston. Good news for Leafs, and I know we've been just saying bad things, but Kasperi Kapanen is coming back versus Nashville. That's all, but that's like 90% confirmed, I believe. So his concussion is all good and settled. I mentioned earlier that Jake Gardner's recovery has been delayed by just a little bit. Things haven't gone the way they had originally thought they would. So look for him, unfortunately, mid-first round there. And Travis Dermott is scheduled to come back early April, so you will have him back, which is great. Erik Karlsson skates on his injured groin. No timetable for the Erik Karlsson return. And I know San Jose is looking to officially clinch that playoff spot, I believe, with one more win. So, if they can keep going on without him right now, Nick. But interestingly, those two teams, San Jose and Calgary, are scrapping for that top Pacific spot. Are they not? Those guys want to avoid Vegas like the plague. And they'd love to play any of those wildcard teams in their spot.
I mean, who wouldn't? You look at that roster with Mark Stone, the ultimate tryhard, Mark Stone.
Oh, and that's really that's how you describe him? Come on,
man! Like every time the camera's on him, it's like he's taken like he's just in a grueling situation. Like he just looks distressed every time the camera's on him.
Yeah,
and man, he's such an addition for that team. What is it, like 7-1 since he got there?
It might even be 8-1.
Might even be 8-1. It's impressive, and I think San Jose. I know they've been scared of Vegas historically. They got knocked out by Vegas last year. I know they've been trying to pass Calgary very hard. They've been starting Martin Jones a lot more than he should be starting. But man, the Karlsson injury redeems Simic, who's been a good story on defense for them. He just got injured. They got two big pieces on the back end gone. Evander Kane was missing some time with a personal matter.
Yes.
It's just they might have a short-lived playoff, which would be very surprising if you told me that at the start of the year, because of just how much Vegas has just transcended through everyone's power rankings with the additions they've made.
And it's a tragic story. I mean, if they do lose that Pacific spot to Calgary, it is just, I mean, they're going to have their hands full. And you know what that means is those two teams are in full playoff mode right now because they are going to have a dogfight for that number 1 spot. So we've got a huge matchup boiling over there. Like you said, Vegas just looks stupid good right now, and that's going to be.
And Calgary needs that because we've made it public on the show just how troubled we both are about that team. Their goaltending
Not very
situation.
trusting. No.
If you're in the playoffs, you'd much rather play Arizona or Minnesota or Dallas
or Colorado
than a Vegas. It's like night and day.
Absolutely. In other news, Nick, the Makar Watch is officially on. The man with UMass played 2 of his opening playoff games. It was a best of 3 against some random team. I don't really remember, but game 1 was an absolute amazing game. They were down 3-0, and it ended up getting to 4-3 late in the third, and Makar ties it up late in the third, I think with 7 minutes left, and his team goes on to win in double overtime. So they played the very next day on the Saturday, and then they wiped them 5-0, and he got 3 points. So they're on to the Hockey East semifinals, which will start on Friday, and it's now lose and you're out. So I mean, we could very well be seeing Kale next week. But
so not this week.
No, because he plays Friday.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I know you with your goalie matchups.
Me because I got Tyson Berry stock. And
yeah.
You want Kale to stay in there.
He won't knock Tyson off unless there's an injury, at least this year. But yeah, it'll be interesting. But I have a feeling Kale's going to go pretty darn far, so don't expect to see him anytime soon. And just a quick note on that, Nick. You mentioned your little Tyson Berry there. How's the fantasy world going for you?
Oh, the fantasy world's heating up. As I will make it publicly known, I had quite the week. It was a nice dominant week for me, as Kyle said. He thought it was over 2 days in. That's 2 days in, and Nick had solidified his spot in the finals. And lucky for me, my opponent will not be Braden Babineau after all.
Why were you so scared of Braden?
I was terrified.
Mitch wiped him. I was
ready to pump this up as David versus Goliath this week. How I would have to slay the beast in Braden, and that will not be the case. Fortunately, I'd much rather lose to Mitch than Braden. I just can't lose to that guy. Just can't. The way he sold his team, the way he traded all those picks for draft picks, it just wouldn't have been right.
Agreed.
And now we get, as it should be, the first seed and the second seed. The two best teams all year by a margin, I will say. It wasn't even close, the point gap between second and third, with all due respect to you and your team. This is what everyone has been looking forward to. This is the Super Bowl.
Shut up.
It is.
Take it easy here.
This is going to be, and we both won our respective matchups, like 7-2, 7-0. Like, it was a beatdown. And now this is it. For all the marbles, $200 on the line.
Wow.
That's not kiddie money either. Like that's like 2 full hard days of work right there that you're getting for winning a fantasy hockey league.
Yeah.
So I will happily take that money and buy myself, a nice Toronto St. Pat's jersey.
Ooh.
Maybe a Ray Ferraro Hartford Whalers jersey.
No way.
Who knows?
Wow.
Oh, I love that jersey.
Wow.
You go to any pond with that jersey on, instantaneous respect.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
you're right.
I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to be a good sportsman all week. And I expect the same of Mitch, and I'm sure it's going to be a very fun ride. I can't divulge too much about my tactic this week, obviously, because I'm sure he's listening. But it's going to be really fun. In fact, what is it? Right now, I got Corey Crawford going. He's got a shutout through one period. So far, so good.
Yeah. I will be watching with complete no man's land Switzerland style. I will not be cheering for either one. I'll just be enjoying some good old fantasy hockey management.
You're totally in Mitch's corner on this.
No.
You made it known last week how much you wanted Mitch to win.
I really want him to win.
You've seen me sit on the throne already. You want to see this guy win, the underdog, so to speak.
And I'm sure you'd love to hear that too. You want everyone against you right now, don't you? You want to prove everyone wrong.
I want to prove everyone wrong, and I want to be the underdog. You know, oftentimes you hear these coaches before these playoff series, and they're like, oh, the other team, they're so good. They're pumping the tires on all these players. You know, John Cooper's calling Mitch Marner the best player to ever play the game. You know, shit like that, like lawyer tactics.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to employ some right now.
Right.
And I'm trying to sell myself as the ultimate underdog here. Like I said, David versus Goliath. We're going to see what happens.
Well, okay, I'll help you out here. I'm totally cheering for Mitch. I respect what Mitch has done all year. He didn't make a single weird trade. He didn't make any draft pick trades.
He even traded one draft pick, I think.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
We're
shit.
very similar. We both made like one or two draft pick.
Okay. Well, there you go. It's better than most of us. Most of us are dirty little cheaters. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But I don't know. I never
It's
liked
tough.
Mitch's roster on paper, so I'll
But
have
if
to see what
you've
happens.
looked at the week, I'd say I have the advantage with the week coming up. The matchups, the quantity of players playing.
Right.
I seem to have a slight edge in that respect, so it might mitigate the higher talent level on his team.
Ooh.
Right.
Wow, big words. So those are the lawyer tactics coming into play here.
That's the pile of shit I'm throwing away. The lawyer shit, the style of yeah.
Nice. All right.
So we'll see. I'm very excited. It's one of those weeks where you're gonna fucking be watching a Minnesota Vancouver game, which you wouldn't do in a million years, but you're gonna watch it anyways because you got a goalie playing or you need an extra shot or an extra hit. It's just one of those weeks.
Yeah. Those are the days. Those are the days. I'm ready to move on from that, to be honest. I'm ready to move on.
Oh, and I'm sure you have. It's been a week now, and now
it's
you can
great.
just watch these games as a fan.
Exactly.
3 weeks left in the season. You're just watching the playoff race and watching the standings, and I'll be there with you. Win or loss, I'll be there with you. But right now, it's all business.
Yeah. It's a huge weight off. I got to tell you, it's nice. We've expanded, we've exhausted all of our topics, Nick, save one. But we're kind of running out of time. Are you pushing to get this last topic in, or should we skip it?
Oh, it's got to be done, and we're not even half-assing it either.
Oh my God! Come on, man!
It's the final one.
Okay, you start.
Well, for those obviously who know where we're going here, this past Monday, Tuesday was the two-part season finale of Colton Underwood's Bachelor.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
It was quite the event. What did we have? We had a one-night episode where we kind of had the dust settle from last week.
Yeah.
The breakups. We had the second part, which was so to speak, climbing Mount Everest, as they say.
Yeah.
And it was. I thought it was very well done. I like now how they're doing kind of the live alongside the episode.
Oh,
you get to hear the interviews in between. It's very good. It slows the pace down, gets the emotion going, gets the drama going. It's very well done by Chris Harrison and the gang. Yeah, I got some notes here. Why don't you just give your general thoughts? General thoughts here.
Okay. Well, first, what I'll say is, and we were talking about this in the office, we're saying, hey, way to pack like 30 minutes of content into like a 2-episode shit sandwich. That fucking the live portion is just like the way to drag on the episode because you're trying to put one episode of content into 2 fucking episodes. Doesn't matter.
Okay, they have like no respect for the audience at all, or any, like with the whole commercial shit.
Oh,
like,
I know.
Chris Harrison will be sitting with Hannah, the girl who was sent home, and he's like, all right, I know you're in a bad emotional state right now and you're weeping, all these tears. Are you ready to see Colton?
Yeah.
Yes, I want to see Colton. And he's like, all right, after the commercial. He was like, fuck you.
That was getting to you, eh? You're all excited. Yes, I want them to see each other. They're going to fall in love again. No, but in all honesty, that first episode there, where the breakups, it was hard to watch. It was just hard to watch. I mean, like, it felt really like real and emotional, and I was like, oh my god, this hurts. And this guy, he's just, he's crying. Like, all he did was cry the whole time. Like, he had a really rough go. But then when you frame it like that and you show everyone, they're all like, oh yeah, this looks pretty legitimate. And I think they did a great job on really portraying how real I think this season may have been. But then when we get to Cassie, man.
Yeah, well, hold on. Just 2 points on that first episode.
Yeah, okay.
I really like the fallout from the fence jump. Like, they had to fucking travel around and find the guy. And then in what I can only sum up as like a father-son moment between him and Chris, where they're just having a man-to-man chat. And he's like, it's over. The show's over. And every girl I've ever opened up to and admitted my love for her, she leaves me. He's getting all sad, and Chris is trying to, pat him on the back. It was like a father and son moment.
You like that, eh?
It very much was. Like, one guy's 26, the other guy's 46. I really liked it. And what I also like is with the breakups, like, man, they're ruthless. Like,
oh yeah.
Like when he sent home Tasha.
Yeah.
I mean, but literally the second he sends her home, the van's in front of her house to pick her up. Like, she had to grab her little purse and hop in the car. And like, despite how it's not the traditional, like, you're going home at the rose ceremony, like, you're not excused from the van ride home. I really like that.
No, and the cameras are in there.
Yeah. There's no getting past that. It's the most embarrassing moment of your life, but there's no getting past that.
You know what I loved? What we loved was, so it's happening, right, with Tasha, and then she goes, can we go in private in the room? And then the cameras are locked out, the mics are on, the mics are like turned up to the max, and you're hearing everything anyways.
Oh, that was so good. It was just one shot. The camera just like it just sat there, and it was like for like 2 minutes straight. It was just one shot of them talking. It was so real. It was so good.
Yeah, it was good. And then she took it like a champ, by the way. Yeah. And then the next girl, Hannah, it was just, that was a bit messier. So she was just kind of like, what the hell is happening? Things were getting nuts. But yeah, I felt bad.
Move on to Cassie.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh man, this is hard to watch. But,
yeah.
So yeah, and then we get the next episode, and all this drama, like this, it's like you've climbed the mountain to reach the summit, and doesn't she just come off as a total jerk? Doesn't she come off as a punk? He goes, yeah, I sent the other girls home, and she goes, oh, no way. Okay. It's like, shut the fuck up, you stupid broad. And then it comes out, Nick, that she goes, yeah, like, it's not that I wasn't even ready for, like, an engagement. It was like, I don't even know if I'm ready for a relationship. It's like, what? Are you serious? You're on the show? She's probably like, oh my God, I hope I don't make it this far. And now she's here, and she goes, oh, shit. Like, you can tell she was just like, oh, what do I do now? And then she gives that lame excuse, like, yeah, when I was in college, I dated a guy. He was sort of controlling, and so I'm literally scared out of death. Like, shut the fuck up, man. You're on this show, you're on this show, first of all, to get engaged, and you can't even handle a relationship. So this guy's just done all this crazy shit, and you're dropping this high school bullshit, and it's just like, I liked her, Nick, before. Like, we wanted her to win. She was a favorite of ours. And now I'm just thinking, like, you don't deserve this shit. Like, who are you to he's built you up to be this monument. And now you just prove to us that you're just a little teenager. And everything, you remember what fucking, what's her name said? The weird girl that never speaks. When she had all those accusations against against Cassie, and we're like, oh, she's being a bitch, like, where are you getting all that info?
Kirpa.
She was right. Kirpa was right, bro. Like, the whole time it's like, we should have trusted Kirpa. She's not making this stuff up. She heard some shit, she's felt some shit, and it was correct. Like, they just villainized Kirpa so hard, and at the end of the day, she was just doing she was doing a good job. She's just telling the truth. It sucks. And you know what? After that, it was kind of like anticlimactic. And what I will say, when they actually came on live, like, the relationship felt a lot more natural. It felt better. Like, they were actually, like, doing stuff. But, like, just the whole episode, it was just like, man, I don't like this. This stinks. This is a bad way to end. This girl doesn't deserve shit.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because like it was like a flipping of a light switch. Like at the start of the episode, she's packing her bags, ready to go home. She's all content with her life and how things have gone.
Yeah.
And then literally shows up and he's like, "Hey, baby, you want to go to Mallorca, Spain for a week?"
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh, sign me up."
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
I get another episode on this show. The whole finale's about me. How many more Instagram followers is that?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and this was really funny because I was in Mallorca myself 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
When I was doing my first run through Europe. Beautiful place. It was my favorite place the whole trip. And I saw several countries. And boy, oh boy, they chose a good spot. The country really came off in the episode where he's driving the Wrangler around town. I'm sure you like that scene.
It's the best part. Yeah, that was awesome.
So, he chose the right spot to get engaged. Glad it worked out for him so far. I guess my only question is, how long until we start seeing the magazines with Cassie's dad kills Colton Underwood? Because you predicted this.
Yes. Actually,
you were
Nick,
way on this before.
Yeah, no, actually, funnily enough, that rumor can be squashed officially because they just posted an Instagram with Colton, Cassie, and the dad all like chumming around, hanging out, and they're just having a jolly old time. So it's all good now. That's how lame this all is. Like, it's all smoothed out. He's no longer gonna pull the shotgun on him. And that's it. Like, Colton just flies off into the sunset. And they're already talking about getting engaged and shit. Like, come on, man. Just settle down.
Yeah. No, I can't see this lot. I mean, she's there for the publicity. It's pretty evident. She's very young. She's, like I said, she got a whole finale to herself. She I mean, that's a huge opportunity. She might be the next Bachelorette someday. We'll see.
That's
yeah. That a stretch?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like a stretch to me, yeah. But it could happen.
I mean, clearly the standards aren't high now after they announced the last Bachelorette.
Oh, did you see that shit at the end?
I did.
Oh my god, that was bad.
She could barely put a sentence together. And she's going to have a whole season to go through.
Hannah, Alabama.
Yeah, this is bad, man. I feel like the producers are just running out of ideas. It's like,
yeah.
All right. Virgin? Check. Dumbass? Check.
No.
It's like we need something to spice this up. So
shit, you're rude, man.
I'm not rude. I've never had a conversation with this woman. I'm not judging anybody.
Sure.
But I'm just going off social media, the consensus here. Yeah. And the consensus is, she has her brain is like the size of a Nesquik. Okay. So
no.
I'm just going off what the Twitter people are saying, and it seems like the producers are running out of ideas here. So I don't even want to tune in for this season, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of highlights from it.
God. Holy shit. I mean, I think me and Del were after the episode, we're like, okay, yeah, so 4 people definitely said no before they landed on her. Like, there's no way that she was choice number 1 because like, granted, she's not very smart, but like, she's also really weird. Like, awkward, weird. Like, look at what happened. Can this be like the most awkward season we've ever? Well, we haven't really seen much, but people have ever seen it. Maybe it's very strange. The whole oh my god, yeah. Fuck. I don't know how she's gonna handle all that. To be honest,
no, I really don't. Which I mean, just to wrap this up, all in all, like. Yeah, the future, we don't know what's going to happen here with the next season. But I think I did, all in all, I was pretty pleased with how all this wrapped up, because it goes to show you the traditional Bachelor formula of proposing on this Caribbean island. The guy, the same guy every year comes with the rings and gives him the nice ring to give to the gal. Like the whole traditional formula, it all went to the garbage this year.
Yeah.
And it kind of portrayed you know, how someone who doesn't really want to be on it for the show, who just really wants to find love and wants to, you know, just throw away the formula. He literally said the show's over, and it was a cool kind of underdog story how he kind of pulled it all off, and it was kind of cool to see a refreshing change to a Bachelor season. I mean, because this show's been going on for years, like I said, and for this to go this way was kind of neat, just how it kind of unfolded.
Yeah, and I think he was probably a good Bachelor, like as Bachelors go, you know, like he was a pretty you know, relatable, nice guy, and then the shit hit the fan and it was awesome. Like, I'm sure there's been some really stinky, boring seasons, and so I think we were pretty fortunate that this is what got us into the show. And I'm not saying I'm gonna watch Bachelorette. I'm not gonna say that right now, because I don't think it's a dynamic that I want to see, and I think I just want to give my time to something else. But next year, when Bachelor comes around again, for sure, yeah, I'll tune in. But yeah,
and yeah, it's just I have a lot of respect for the guy, because like they're basically, the way the schedule works and how the producers are all yelling in your ear, they're basically saying, hey, you're gonna have 3 or 4 dates with this girl, and then we want you to be engaged.
yeah.
Like, it's pretty crazy, and you're doing this just to satisfy millions of viewers watching around. And this guy kind of said, fuck you guys. He punched the cameras and said, I'm doing this my way, and you're following me.
Yeah.
And kudos to him. So good on him.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Nick,
But he loses. At the end of the day, he loses, because she ends up being the winner after all this. She's going to get the publicity, and
oh, sure.
you know,
Yeah.
ultimately they're going to break up in a year. So there you go.
Oh, I give him 6 months. 6 months. She wants to get 6 months of posts, and then she's cut. She's done. She's free. She can do her like acting jobs or whatever the hell she's gonna do. Sell some yoga pants on Instagram or something.
Fair enough.
You know, but well, Nick, it's been an hour 20. I think we should end.
Wow.
It's been a hell of an episode. Like I said, a passionate episode. We were fired up, both of us, for different reasons, and we met in the middle on the Leafs, and we were just, you know, there's crazy shit happening, and things are firing up. You got your fantasy playoffs, so you've got a big week coming. I'm just chilling out as a fan. So yeah, it's been a great episode, and I think we did number 30. We did with respect and pride, I think.
Yeah, 30, and fittingly, looks like we may have our 1,000th viewer this week. If all things go as planned. So kind of fitting. 30 episodes in, 1,000 viewers. You know, we appreciate everyone tuning in each and every week. It's been a fun time so far, and we hope to keep it going with you guys, and we appreciate all the support that you've been providing us with. So yeah, from both of us, we thank you for everything, and yeah, it's going to be a fun week ahead with the fantasy playoffs and the end of this season wrapping up, and soon enough the playoffs. So unless you got anything to add, I think that about does it.
This is Rink Moose
signing off.